And we're back with more adding mixed numbers with unlike denominators. Let's go ahead and take a look at our first one. We have 6 and 5/10 plus 6 and 4/5. Now we know we can't do this problem because our denominators are not the same. And we know that we come over to the side to find our least common denominator, which means we take our 10 and our 5 and we write the multiples down. Now I can see already, I'm going to start with my 5 because I can see that I'm going to get 5 and 10. And I know then that 10 is going to be my least common denominator. Now I'm going to rewrite my problem. My whole number, my fraction line, and denominator is going to be 10 each time. And I just like to write this out so that I'm ready to go. This denominator stayed the same, so the numerator also stays the same. Here, my 5 changed to a 10, and I was able to change a 5 to a 10 by multiplying times 2. So if I multiply the denominator by 2, I must multiply the numerator by 2, and 4 times 2 is 8. Now, we know we can start this problem. 6 plus 6 is 12. My denominator stays the same, and 5 plus 8 is 13. Now here we have an improper fraction. That's where the numerator is larger than the denominator, and I need to do a number bond. So I'm going to put a circle around this, and a number bond is where the fractions in the circles below, 10 tenths and 3/10, add up to the circle at the top. So 10 tenths plus 3/10 is 13 tenths. I've just broken it down. And the reason I've done this is because we all know that 10 tenths is equal to 1 whole. And then I still have 3/10 left over. It's kind of like when you're doing adding and you add 8 plus 8 and you get 16. You bring the 6 down and you carry the 1. It's kind of like the carrying thing. But now I still have a 12 up here, which is a whole number, and this 1 is a whole number, and I need to put those together to make 13. So I have a whole number 13, and then I have 3/10, because all of this now belongs with this 12. This 1 and 3/10 simply is 13/10 put into another form, a mixed number form. So I need to put it back with that 12. Now, I still need to do my greatest common factor. And I've got a 3 and a 10 for 3/10. The factors of 3 are 1 and 3. The factors of 10 are 1, 2, 5, and 10. And so my greatest common factor is 1. And when the greatest common factor is 1, that means your fraction is in simplest form. So the final answer for this problem is 13 and 3/10. Let's try another one. Here we have 5 and 2/5 plus 8 and 2/3. And we know we can't do this problem because we don't have a common denominator. So we need to find our LCD. We're going to put our 5 and our 3. Put 5, 10, 15, 15, 20. I don't know why that's not letting me write. So let me just put a line through that and come right down here. LCD 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, and for 3, I'm going to put 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. It's not letting me write that again. So my least common denominator is going to be 15. So I'm going to come over here and let me move that out of the way. Come over here and I'm going to write 5 with a denominator of 15 plus 8 and a denominator of 15. And in this case, both of my denominators changed. So 5 times 3 equals 15. If I multiply the denominator by 3, I must multiply the numerator by 3. And 2 times 3 is 6. Now here, 3 times 5 is 15, so 2 times 5 is 10, and my numerator is going to be 10. Now I can go ahead and add. So 5 plus 8 is 13, and the denominator stays the same. Then I have 6 plus 10, which is 16. Now, again, I have an improper fraction. 16 is greater than 15. So my numerator is larger than my denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and break this into a number bond. I want to put 15 fifteenths because that, of course, is equal to 1 whole. And then I have 1 15th because 15 fifteenths plus 1 15th is equal to 16 fifteenths. So when I've broken this down, I have 1 whole and 1 15th, which I now need to put back with that 13. 13 and 1 together are 14, and I have 1 15th. Now we all know when the numerator is 1, that means our greatest common factor is going to be 1, and that means that our fraction is in simplest form. So here we have 14 and 1 15th. Our next problem, 2 and 2 fourths plus 7 and 7 tenths. So we need to find our least common denominator for our 4 and our 10. Here we're going to have 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. And for 10, we're going to have 10. And I know we can stop at 20 because 20 is going to be our least common denominator. So here I'm going to write my 2, and I'm going to put my 20 for my denominator. Put my 7, I'm going to put my 20 for my denominator. And in both of these, my denominators change. So to change a 4 to a 20, I need to multiply by 5. And if I multiply the denominator by 5, I must also multiply the numerator by 5, and that gives me 10. Here my 10 changed to a 20, so I multiplied my denominator by 2. And if I multiply my denominator by 2, I must also multiply my numerator by 2, and 7 times 2 is 14. Now I can work my problem. 2 plus 7 is 9, denominator stays the same, and 10 plus 14 is 24, which of course is improper again. I'm going to do my number bond, which is going to be 20 twentieths. And 4 20ths. That's going to give me 1 and 4 20ths, which then, of course, that needs to be merged back with my 9. So 9 and 1 are 10, and 4 20ths. And now I need to find my greatest common factor. My greatest common factor of 4 and 20. So factors of 4 are 1, 2, 4, and there's a lot of factors for 20, but I know that 4 times 5 equals 20, so I know 4 is a factor, and my only factors of 4 are 1, 2, 4. So if 4 works, that's going to be my greatest common factor. So I'm going to use 4 to divide my numerator and denominator, and I'm going to have a whole 10. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 20 divided by 4 is 5. And so my final answer is going to be 10 and 1/5. Let's look at one more problem. All right. My denominators are not the same. So I'm going to find my LCD. And that's going to be between 5 and 4. My multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, 4 is 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. That means my least common denominator is going to be 20. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my problem and use 20 as my denominator for both fractions. Here I know that to get 20 from 5, I need to multiply by 4. And if I multiplied the denominator by 4, I must also multiply the numerator by 4, which gives me 12. Over here, I know I multiply 4 times 5 to get 20. And if I multiply the denominator by 5, I must also multiply the numerator by 5, and 2 times 5 is 10. So now I can add up. 2 plus 7 is 9. 20 remains the same. And 12 plus 10 is 22. This is an improper fraction. I'm going to make 20 20ths here. And I'm going to put 2 20ths here. This is going to give me 1 whole and 2 20ths. I'm then going to put that back with my 9. I'm going to end up with 10 and 2 20ths. Now I'm going to come over here with my greatest common factor. 20 again is a big number, and I have the number 2. I know the factors of 2 are 1 and 2, and I know that 2 is also a factor of the number 20. So my 2 is going to be my greatest common factor, and I'm going to divide both my numerator and denominator by the same number, which is 2. So I'm going to have a whole 10. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 20 divided by 2 is 10. And so my final answer for this problem is going to be 10 and 1/10. So these were a little bit more in depth. We ended up with improper fractions each time. And some of them needed to be simplified and some of them didn't. So it's important to make sure that you're finding your greatest common factor on your final fraction to see if you need to simplify or not. I hope that helps.